My kids cut me off after I divorced their cheating mom, but 8 years later, they're back, now that they know I have money. Hello Reddit I plus here. I never thought I'd be the type of man to end up in court, fighting tooth and nail over every dollar, every asset, every shred of my dignity. But that's exactly where I found myself 8 years ago, staring at my cheating wife from across a mahogany courtroom, our marriage reduced to exhibits and legal motions. It started when I discovered her affair, not just any affair, but one with my closest friend. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. I confronted her, expecting tears, apologies, or maybe even excuses. Instead, she sighed as if she had been waiting for me to figure it out. That was the moment I knew. Our marriage was beyond saving. The divorce proceedings were brutal. She wasn't satisfied with half. She wanted everything. We had built a life together for over 20 years, raising 2 children who were now in their late teens. I assumed they would understand, would see the truth. But my ex-wife had a talent for twisting reality, and soon they refused to speak to me. My son, 19 at the time, told me point blank, "You're abandoning Mom. You're selfish." My daughter, 17, followed suit, calling me heartless for not working things out. I was a man drowning, and my own children were throwing stones instead of a rope. The court battle dragged on. My wife walked away with more than she deserved. Half of our savings, the house, even a portion of my retirement. But I walked away with my self-respect. I moved into a modest apartment and focused on rebuilding. I reached out to my kids repeatedly, leaving messages, sending birthday gifts, but they never responded. Over time, I gave up. If they wanted to believe the lies their mother fed them, so be it. I worked tirelessly, climbing the corporate ladder, making smart investments, and by sheer determination, I turned my finances around. Within 8 years, I had gone from struggling to successful, from living in a cramped apartment to owning multiple properties. I wasn't just doing well, I was thriving. Then, out of nowhere, they showed up. It started with a text from my daughter. "Hey Dad, it's been a while. Can we meet up?" I stared at the screen, the words blurring. After 8 years of silence, "Why now?" I responded cautiously, agreeing to a lunch meeting. She arrived with my son, both looking hesitant but hopeful. They talked about their lives, how hard things had been, how they missed me, and then, inevitably, the truth slipped out. Their mother had run through the settlement money. The house was gone and she was struggling. My son had lost his job. My daughter was barely making ends meet, and suddenly, Dad, the one they had shunned, was their best option. I listened, nodding in the right places, watching their carefully constructed act. The disappointment settled deep in my bones. They didn't want reconciliation. They wanted security. I leaned back, crossing my arms. "I tried for years to be in your lives. I begged for a relationship. And now, when I have money, suddenly you remember I exist?" Their faces fell. They protested, said it wasn't like that. But I had spent years negotiating deals, reading people's intentions. I knew the truth. I stood, dropping a few bills on the table for the check. "I wish you both the best, but I'm not a bank. If you ever want a real relationship, you know where to find me." And with that, I walked away. For the first time in years, I truly felt free. In the days that followed, I reflected on my decision. Part of me felt guilty. These were my children, after all. But then I remembered the birthdays, the holidays, the messages left unread. They had made their choice all those years ago, and I had made mine now. A month passed, then 2. My phone remained silent. I half expected them to reach out again, to push harder, but they didn't. Instead, I focused on myself. I traveled, I met new people, I even started dating again. I wasn't just living, I was truly enjoying life. Then, one evening, a call came. I hesitated before answering. "Dad?" It was my daughter. Her voice was uncertain, softer than before. I just wanted to talk. No money, no favors, just talk." I paused, my heart tightening, before responding. "Okay, let's talk." We met at a quiet cafe. And this time, there was no pretense. She spoke about her struggles, her regrets, how she had let our relationship slip away. She admitted that she had believed her mother's version of events for so long that she had refused to see my side. Now, with time and perspective, she saw how unfair she had been. I listened. For the first time, I really listened. And when she finished, I said, "I never stopped loving you, but I couldn't keep chasing after someone who didn't want me in their life." She nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "I know, Dad, and I'm sorry." It wasn't a magical fix, but it was a start. We sat there for hours, talking about everything and nothing. She told me about her struggles, her dreams, the mistakes she had made. I told her about my life, the journey I had taken to rebuild after the divorce. It felt foreign at first, but slowly, the walls began to come down. A few weeks later, my son reached out. He was more hesitant, more stubborn. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted over the phone. "But I miss you." We met for coffee, and like with my daughter, there were no demands, no expectations, just two people trying to mend what had been broken. He still held on to some of the anger from the past, but he was willing to listen now. And so was I. Over time, we rebuilt what we had lost. It wasn't easy. There were awkward conversations, unresolved hurts, moments of hesitation, but there were also genuine laughs, deep discussions, and a newfound understanding between us. As for their mother, I never asked, and they never volunteered information. That part of my life was closed, locked away with the pain and betrayal I had left behind. Years later, when I looked at my grown children sitting around my dinner table, I realized something. Money had brought them back, but love had made them stay. And that, in the end, was all that mattered.